Hi friends, I am Professor Waghmode here, working as Assistant Professor in Agronomy Department. Today we can see the topic on crop rotation, its definition, then principles and advantages of crop rotation. We can see the first one, what is crop rotation? That is, crop rotation is the process of growing different crops in a succession on the same piece of land in a specific period to maximize the production and the profit with least investment without impairing the soil fertility. Means we have to grow the crops as per the family, as per the group, or as per the rotic pattern that is more exhaustive or less exhaustive. That is leguminous followed by the non-legume is the best system of crop rotation over the that is the cereal followed by cereal, as well as the legume followed by non-legume and the legume followed by the legume. Rotation system is more useful for minimizing the uh, soil fertility, that is loss of the uh, uh, yield, as well as to be increase the profit with the least investment without impairing the soil fertility. You have to improve the soil fertility with the improving the production as well as profit. Then crop rotation is also practice of the growing of the series of different crops or the types of the crops in the same area across or in a sequence of the growing season. This is also the crop rotation, as the practice of planting different crops sequentially on the same plot of the land to improve the soil health, optimize nutrients in the soil, and also combat the pest and the weed pressure. Has to be controlled for pest, disease, and the, as well as weeds. Will with the along with the improve the soil health by the way of following or adopting the crop rotation system with the different crops will be grown. This should be grown on the sequential manner. For example, say as a farmer has planted a field of corn, when the corn is harvest is finished, he might plant the beans or the field beans, since corn consumes a lot of nitrogen. The beans returns nitrogen to the soil. This is the beans, maize followed by beans, sorghum followed by groundnut, and the maize. This is the successful crop rotation systems. The examples. Then crop rotation also helps the return nutrients to the soil without the synthetic inputs. Then the practice also works. This interrupts the pest or disease cycles, reduce the pest and disease infestation, and also improves the soil health by increasing the biomass from different crops, roots, structures, and increases the biodiversity on the farm. And also the life in the soil thrives on the variety, and the beneficial insect and the pollinator are attracted to the variety above ground too. This is the crop rotation concept or definition. Next one, we can see the objectives of crop rotation. The first main objective, that is to achieve better soil fertility and its physical, chemical, and biological properties through the addition of the organic matters. Then keep the soil free from disease, pest, and weeds through various crop and the agronomical or cultural manipulations. Then regulate the continuous supply of food, feed, fodder, fiber, as well as fuel. Funds for the various family commitments. Then make best use of the residual soil moisture and the nutrient by selective crops. Then achieve greater insurance against the natural calamities and instability in the market prices. Then make best use of the labor power and the capital throughout the year and achieve higher yield without incurring extra expenditure. These are the objectives of crop rotation. Next point, that is criteria for selection of crops in rotation. You can say here the crops or the variety selected should have the adaptability to the local climatic conditions, then have high demand in the market, then should keep or should have the short duration, then inputs required for raising of the crops should be available to the farmers, should be that is required the inputs for the raising crops accordingly available with the farmers. Then maturity of the crops should be matched with the crop demand, and the crop variety should have the resistance to the pest and disease. This is the basic and important criteria required for the while selection of the crops in the rotation system. Next, we can see here that this is the selection of crops according to rotation. It is 1 year rotation, This is a 2-year rotation and 3-year rotation. It is 1-year rotation in case of in this case the maize mustard, rain rice followed by wheat. This is a 1-year rotation. Then 2-year rotation, that is maize followed by mustard followed by sugarcane followed by fenugreek, and then second example maize followed by potato followed by sugarcane, then peas. Then 3 years rotation, that is rice followed by wheat, then followed by moong, mustard, sugarcane and barley. Then second example, that is cotton, oat, sugarcane, peas, maize, wheat. These are the examples of the while the selection of rotation, that is 1 year or 2 year or 3 years. Accordingly, you have to select the crops with their families and according to demand and of the nutrients or the root systems. And then vegetables and the flowers also grown in the areas close to the cities for the higher income. This next one you can see this is a classical example for the successful rotation, that is maize followed by cotton followed by cowpea. This is a generate the residues in the rotation, that is maize and the cotton, and generate also the cash income. And cowpea, it adds the or improves the soil fertility. That is whatever the nutrients are uptake by the or removed by the maize and cotton, will be gaining especially nitrogen through the cowpea as a rotation, as a leguminous crop. Next one, principles of crop rotation. You can see here there are different principles. That is first one, that is crops should existing soil, climate and economic factors should be selected. The sufficient acreage or the area should be provided to the legumes to maintain the nitrogen supply. Then crop sequence should be based on the proper land utilization. The selection of crops should be demand based. Then on the erosion prone lands, the alternate cropping of erosion permitting and the erosion resisting. Erosion permitting means those crops which are susceptible for erosion or the preferable for erosion to give the chance of eroding the soil, because of this type of crops have the erectophile type of canopy. It will be the directly the raindrops contact with the soil surface or detachment of the soil particles. In case of soil erosion resisting crops which have the growth that is spreading type of growth, and this should be on the along the soil surface and should be resist against the erosion or the detachment or the loss of soil. Should be adopted as erosion prone lands. The alternate cropping of erosion permitting and erosion resisting crop should be adopted. Then it should provide sufficient employment to the laborer and the family members. Then it should also be so arranged to make the efficient utilization of the available resources, machines and the equipments available with the farmer. Then in the dry farming areas, the drought resistant and low lying area and flood prone areas, crop tolerant to water stagnation should be selected. Then tap root systems or tap rooted crops should be followed by fibrous rooted as to make the uniform use of the nutrients. Then more exhaustive crops should be followed by less exhaustive crops to maintain the nutrient balance of the soil. Then if the soil, it should be provide the roughages and pastures to the livestock kept on the farm. Then crop belongs to same family should not be grown in the succession or in the rotation to avoid the incidence of weed, pest and disease. These are the principles of crop rotation. Then next point, that is advantages of crop rotation, that is increases soil fertility as the prolonging planting of the same crop type leads to the depletion of the specific nutrient in the soil. Each crop type have the different nutrient interaction with the soil and each of them release and absorb different types of the nutrient. Because of this rotation increases the soil fertility by controlling deficient or excess nutrients, because it replenishes the nutrients that are not available or absorbed nutrient that are to be in abundance. Then second advantage, that is increases crop yield. As the crop rotation increases the harvest obtained from the single seasonal harvest. Not only does one get a variety of crop after each season because of the incorporation of the different crop types, but also generally bountifully harvest. Some of the scientific evidence proves at 10 to 25% increase in the crop yield in crop rotation rather than the monoculture. Third advantage, that increases soil nutrients As earlier stated, the crop rotations allows the land to generate or rejuvenate its self nutrient without having to apply more nutrients through the use of fertilizers. Leaving the land bare for a season enable the land to restore the soil nutrient lost through the absorption by plants harvested in the previous season. Fourth advantage, that is reduces soil erosion. Soil erosion is the carrying away of the most important topsoil layer by wind and the water. When the soil is constantly covered by the plant, the top layer is not carried away by water during the heavy rainfall. As a layer of crawling plants or cover crops like beans or the peas or the groundnut or cowpea works well to prevent the erosion by giving the ground crop cover. Unlikely stand-alone crops like the standing alone crops like the maize, sorghum, or the permillet that leave the land exposed to the soil erosion eliminate. Next advantage, limits the concentration of the pest or the population of pest and disease. Similarly, plants have to be of the same pathogen. Therefore, crop rotation intercepts the pest life cycle and their habitat. The cycle entails similar events that happen in the constant rotation, meaning that the infestation of the pest and the diseases happen in the season. Farmers can see a decrease in the incidence of the insect pest and the pathogens when they try to crop rotation. Then next advantage, reduces the stress of weeds. As the rotation is traditional weed control technique that also helps in the controlling the weed free cultivation or the controlling the especially the parasitic weeds has to be especially for example in sorghum that is triga, then in case of bershim that is a cuscuta the dodder, then in Niger also the dodder or cuscuta, then uh, uh, in the tobacco that is orobanki. Like that, this parasitic weeds should be controlled by only the way of adopting crop rotation. That is, it involves the maintaining field conditions that weeds are likely to be grow or increases in number. In other words, the crop rotation allows crops to be crowd out weeds during competition of the nutrient and other resources. Then next advantage, that is improves the soil structure. Crop rotation helps to prevent the compaction, that is especially soil compaction is observed in monoculture or monocropping system, but in case of crop rotation helps to prevent the soil compaction and thus improves the physical condition of the soil and also improves the soil structure as well as texture. This will allows good condition for seed germination and root proliferation. Then next one, reduces pollution. If the constant application of the fertilizers to the soil causes soil leaching, which is the excessive buildup of the nutrient in the soil as a toxic and harmful level that does not allow plants to grow well. Thus, crop rotation increases the nutrients in the soil and it prevents the accumulation of toxic chemicals and the substances secreted by some crop plants. The next advantage is diversification and reduced cost of production. The cultivation of certain crops requires less labor and the machinery compared to others. It helps to distribute the workload and the resources used throughout the year, to which for which the cost of production of the crops decreases to certain extent. Then next one, nutrient uptake regulation. This is the most important advantage of crop rotation, that is nutrient uptake regulation, especially helps to increasing the uptake of the nutrient through crop rotation from the soil as different crops require different nutrients in the different quantities and in especially in crop rotation the legume followed by cereal, then also the non-legume followed by legume. This is the best or ideal examples of crops that is to be grown or to be selected for the crop rotation system. This is the advantages of crop rotation. Next point, that is disadvantages of crop rotation. That it involves the risk, as especially in crop rotation. Investing in a rich season involves the input of much money to buy different seedlings of the different types of the crops to be planted. Moreover, certain crops need specific kind of equipment, so farmers may have to invest in different types of machinery. This means the initial cost have the can be higher and the success or however for each crop type is not guaranteed, and one can end is incurring the loss of harvest. Second disadvantage, that is the improper implementation, can cause much more harm than good. This is improper implementation of this technique causes much more harm than good. If the one lacks the technical knowledge of crop rotation, there will be no need to be experiment, because there is a nutrient buildup that will take the longer time to correct. One has to have the skill to know the what crops can be planted after the other, and in which season for the success for the process to success. Third disadvantage, that is obligatory crop diversification. For the crop rotation to work, one has to plant different crops every time. Nonetheless, it does not allow to farmer to specialize in a single type of crop. The farmer not able to produce single crop on a large scale over a long period of time because of damage it will do to the soil. Then requires more knowledge and skills, especially crop rotation means the variety of crops. Therefore, it requires deeper set of the skill and the knowledge regarding the each type of crop harvested. It requires the different types of the machinery, and the operating them for requires knowledge. This means farmers will have to invest more time and resources in learning and mastering this agriculture practice. Next disadvantage, that is difference in the growing conditions. Certain locations and their climates are more favorable for monoculture, meaning a certain kind of crop, other than that of practical kind of the or the particular kind of the crop. Other crop cannot grow well in that specific type of temperature and the soil condition. This is the today's topic about crop rotation, its definition, then principles, advantages, disadvantages of crop rotation. Thank you.